Capitalism was more at the cost of a society.
Worst floods,
textile, dairy, chemical,
confusion in people's minds,
consumer activism,
the rise in the price of carbon.
ESG started from the lens of accountability.
consistent effort.
Innovation and design.
ESG is a marathon.
We are here to save our next generation. Today, we play host to two esteemed organizations. One is overseas Investors Chamber of Commerce Industries and Pakistan Business Council.
So what we're intending to do over the course of the next 2 days is to unpack what ESG is. Why is everyone talking about it? And why is it becoming more and more pertinent for your organizations to transition towards this side? Do we have any regulatory frameworks at the moment? What is the best reporting mechanism? What will your organization benefit from this? Is there a value addition? Is there a business case? So we will discover all of that.
Sustainability started from the lens of responsibility. ESG started from the lens of accountability.
ESG does not relate to just an activity. I think it is something that we have to continue to do it on a regular basis.
ESG is a new way to look at the sustainability goals, and it is a way to accelerate both the reporting, the accountability, and then also the implementation of your governance, social and environmental angle of businesses.
ESG, sustainability, or whatever you call it, is a marathon. You have to take those best practices beyond your own membership.
ESG has gained significant momentum and risen in prominence. You can see this through a whole number of metrics. One is simply the number of mentions. Now, what can you do about it? Well, there are 4 steps that we see ESG leaders taking. Number 1 is map your world, is really understanding, your starting point and what matters for your business. Number 2 is define your contribution, which is where are you going to lead versus comply. Number 3 is how you embed and make this real in your business, not just a headline of a sustainability report, but how does this really flow into capabilities and skills and incentives. And number 4 is to engage externally. And each of these steps involves data as a critical backbone, which is something that SAFE is going to speak more to.
For business-to-business companies, sustainability is becoming a new lever to negotiate and to shift the dialogue away from a price-focused conversation, a price and volume-focused conversation, towards qualitative angles such as sustainability.
That session was actually very, very insightful in telling us, giving us a global overview of what ESG is and where it stands at the moment. These are sessions that should actually keep happening just to build our expertise and our knowledge base.
I think what I'm more excited about is how businesses are now being more open to incorporating innovation and design and using that as a way to inculcate practices within the organization and to bring in transformation. So that's something that I'm personally very excited about.
In Pakistan, there's no regulation as such, anything that's binding right now in local organizations. But of course, internationally, if we want to stay relevant in international markets, if we want to continue to export internationally, it is important that we learn how to comply with some of these requirements around our environmental, social, and governance footprints.
ESG policies are supposed to be made with your stakeholder input. And it's actually an eye-opener, and I would encourage everyone to do that. For other companies, you interview your customers, your supply chain, anyone you're dealing with. It's really an eye-opener, and it only helps you.
How much of this sort of strategy, awareness, and requirements have been brought into the curriculums of these major degrees, and you see these environmentalists and everyone at the university levels and everywhere?
If you are a student of strategic planning, and no doubt all the leaders here are part of strategic planning within their enterprises, you often use the exercise called the balanced scorecard. Yeah, that's a very common tool that management uses for a 3-year to a 5-year strategy. So you try to have a strategic outcome with ESG outcomes as well across the perspectives. And you put in KPIs and responsibilities and budgets and objectives and measures and mitigations across that.
The one opportunity which I saw in this was the diversity of the industry. We had the industry colleagues from textile, from dairy, from power, from chemical. And this gives an overall understanding of how ESG is important and critical for the diverse industry segments. So it is not only for the power generation, it used to be considered like power producers are producing more CO2, but this is not the case. So it equally applies to all sectors of industry.
What we really want to achieve is to understand how to develop a strategic roadmap for individual organizations, work on our case studies from day one and take it a step further. We will cover life cycle analysis, how to measure the environmental footprint of our products, and hopefully by the end of the day we will have covered different reporting frameworks as well. We'll end with a Jeopardy game just to test everyone's knowledge, see what they've learned. Of course, we did have some very experienced professionals here today.
This was our first attempt to collectively contribute to this very important subject on environment, sustainability and governance. We had invited members of not only foreign investors from who are the members of the OICCI, but also from the local businesses who are represented at the Pakistan Business Council.
One thing that I always believe in, and I say that ESG is about building businesses that last. So there's no disconnect between profitability and sustainability, because if you want to build something that is going to last, that is going to deliver value to stakeholders over a prolonged period of time and is going to be impactful, then ESG has to lie at the very center of it. So there's no disconnect between the two, in my opinion. That I would like to leave with is that you have to focus on build to last, and build to last is something which is absolutely in sync with the ESG principles.
They have to now not only comply is a strong word, but move towards ESG, but also they have to pledge to net zero emissions. And in Pakistan, companies have done so to the extent they have the capacities and capabilities. So the first that it offers perspective is on the nature and extent of the sustainable stock exchange, ESG issues. First is diagnostics everywhere. Second is sustainable stock exchanges, ESG engagement is growing. So by how much is it growing? What principles are being adopted? The good news is that there has been a growth across the platform of the sustainable stock exchange, obviously of a different order and magnitude, depending on when they started. And average number of initiatives per exchange has increased to about 8.4, and number of exchanges meeting the 5 World Federation principles rose to 69%. So that's decent progress. And that gives us also a lead into how we should go forward steadily.
What matters at the end of the day is the intent behind, either you want to call it a CSR, ESG or sustainability. And I'm sure tomorrow there's going to be some more expression coming in. For me, what is more important, and also for you, is the why. Why do you want to do it? Just because the fear of the regulators? Just because everyone is asking for it? Just because it's trending? I think so. The why is very important for your organizations. Yeah. And I think so that would drive you to do the what and the how. That would drive you to comply. Yeah. And I think so my submission to all you guys, when you go back, you should ask this question, why we are here. Because then your job becomes a mission. And I think so that's going to be very critical. Yeah. We are here to save our next generation. We are here to really basically look after this country.